we just mentioned that Donald Trump brought this up, and I guess that was on Friday. He brought up on Friday this threat that we are going to take undocumented immigrants after we hold them for 20 days and release them in sanctuary cities as some way of, like Jamie said, making a kid who smoked a cigarette smoke a whole pack simultaneously and get sick, except for that's not how it works, I think, with undocumented immigrants. I think it will give people an opportunity to see, like, oh, these are just people who want to come here and work and take care of their families.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
But then the White House walked back from that policy because, of course, aside from it maybe being illegal, I don't know. It's also just a stupid policy that sounds like someone on a talk radio or right-wing talk radio show had come up with, and then was afraid that someone would see the transcript and just wanted to melt away. The White House backed off it, and then Trump went out and said he wanted to do it again, I think by tweet. And so Sarah Sanders Huckabee, I guess, had to explain to Chris Wallace what the hell is going on.
Is the president serious? Does he really intend to ship thousands of immigrants all across the country to cities like New York and San Francisco and a lot of other places?
Certainly, we're looking at all options. As long as Democrats, Chris, continue to ignore the crisis at the border, continue to refuse to sit down with the president and Republicans in Congress and come up with a solution to stop the national security and humanitarian crisis and the number of illegal immigrants that are flooding across our border, then we have to look at all options across the table so that the towns right there on the border aren't taking on the entire burden, and that we're shifting some of that burden to places who constantly claim to want to have open borders and want to have an open city. So let's put some of those people into their communities and into their towns and see if they are okay then with that same impact. Again, the big part of the question and the big thing we have to look at here is how do we stop this from being a problem in the first place? We shouldn't have to be putting people and moving them all across the country to spread that out. We should have a border that's strong, a border that's secure, a border that functions the way that it's supposed to. That's the president's number one priority. That's what he'd like to see happen, and that's what he'd like Democrats to work with him to solve. If they continue to be unwilling to do that, we're certainly looking at all options.
Okay. I want to pick up this specific option, though, about shipping migrants to sanctuary cities. The president tweeted last night that the government has, quote, the absolute legal right to do so. But as has been reported, this was floated by the White House, brought over to DHS, and they said repeatedly that it was not legal to do so. And also they said counterproductive. Take a look at some of the objections that DHS raised. They said Congress has approved no specific money for this purpose. ICE says it would be, quote, an unnecessary operational burden. Sending them to sanctuary cities which don't cooperate with federal enforcement of immigration laws would make it harder to round them up later. And it also might be an incentive to more illegal immigration. So I guess the question is, how do you overcome all of those problems?
Again, nobody thinks that this is the ideal solution, but until we can fix the crisis at the border, we have to look at all options. This is one of them. Whether or not it moves forward, that's yet to be determined. This was raised at a staff level initially and pushed back on. The president wants us to explore it again, so that's being done.
Oh, my God.
A complete and thorough review. But again, the big thing is...
All right, we don't need... So this is hilarious. The president won't let go of it, and we keep trying to tell him that he can't do it, that it's the dumbest plan ever.
That staffer won't be invited to the meetings anymore.
That's right. I mean, it's an absurd policy, but good. Take the money from the wall and rent buses, take all these people to sanctuary cities, and... maybe this is the grand compromise.
We will be there to welcome them.
Yeah, don't listen to ICE, President Trump. You should do it. It's a great idea.
They're disrespecting.
I knew it.
Yeah, also,
they're the
you
only
might-
ones that have respect
You might want to
for-
think about abolishing ICE, given that level of disrespect to a
That was
commander
totally
in chief.
disrespectful
Unbelievable.
and sad.
Don't they know that they're your ICE?
Who's counterproductive?
Wait a second. Excuse me?